So first of all, I want to welcome all of you back to this episode of the podcast. We have some really great questions for you guys today that have been submitted from you guys. And before we get started, I wanted to again thank everyone that has started supporting the podcast to help us to build our scholarship that we want to start giving away. Hopefully, our big goal, the big goal, is to give this scholarship away once a month. Now, I know that may take some time to build up, which is perfectly fine, but our big goal with this is to eventually create a scholarship that we can give away once a month. This first one is, I'm sure going to take a little bit of time to build up, but with your help, we can build this so we can start to give our athletes some scholarship money as they head off to college. So I would like to put out a challenge to you guys. I would like to see if by the first of the year, so by January 1st, if we could get 5 more people to sign up as monthly supporters for the podcast. Now, I can tell you right now, 5 people, based on our stats, is a very small percentage of the listeners that we have. It's very small. So I don't think that that's a huge thing that we can't achieve. I think it's a very easy thing for us as a community to achieve, to give back to our sport, and also to give to these young athletes that are headed off to college. So my challenge again, and hopefully I get to report back to you guys by the first of the year, that we got to our goal of only 5. So 5 supporters, right? And we're talking, again, to support as little as 99 cents a month. $1 a month. If you're getting anything valuable out of this podcast, please help me to give scholarships to our athletes. It means the world to me, and it would mean the world to them. So, that being said, let's dive into our questions. Let's get into our questions for this week. So we have 2 questions, very good questions, that I'm excited to talk to you guys about. Our first question is from an athlete that went through a growth spurt. So this athlete grew 4 inches in this last growth spurt. For those that are not familiar, right, a growth spurt is where you go through a very rapid growth phase, usually through puberty, and it can sometimes wreak havoc on athletes as they're working on skills, and it can really cause some slowdown with their progress. Not all athletes, but some. Now, the reason for this is when you have a growth spurt, you're going to have an increase in body weight. Everybody's different, but a good kind of rule is, rule of thumb is, for every inch in height that an athlete gains, we could potentially gain 5 to 10 pounds, again, varying with male or female. Age is a big thing as well. But imagine even if you're a girl, you grow 4 inches over the course of 6 months. I mean, that can potentially increase your body weight up to like 20 or so pounds. Now, it won't always do that, of course, but if you're accompanying that skeletal growth, the bone growth, with an increase in muscle mass as well, then yeah, it's not unrealistic to put on 10 to 20 pounds. So because of that, we got more body weight. So let's imagine we went through like a 6-month period where we grew a couple of inches, and that ended up adding, let's say 8 to 15 pounds. Imagine if you woke up and put like a 15-pound weight vest on and tried to go through your entire routine. Now, granted, it's not that drastic of a change, but it can be a big challenge with that added body weight. The other thing is, when we grow, our arms and legs are going to get longer, right? And so when you look at, biomechanically, so looking at the body as kind of a machine of sorts, we're looking at longer levers than we had before, which, again, our timing is going to be different for certain tumbling skills and stunting skills, and our jumps. And the difficulty to move in those full ranges of motion can also start to present. So when we look at athletes going through a growth spurt, it's definitely something that can cause challenges with tumbling and some of our other skills, but there is or there are ways that we can try to curb that time where we have some of the difficulties. So number one, the first thing I want you to think about when you have these growth spurts is if we're adding more weight to our frame because our body's getting bigger, so of course we're going to put on some size, then one of our first thing we think is how do we get stronger to match this now added body weight? For some reason, every athlete in cheerleading, for the most part, is so obsessed with flexibility that their first thought is, well, if I'm getting bigger, I need to stretch more. No. If you're going through a growth spurt, you're adding size, so you need to be stronger to move that added size more efficiently, right? So the first thing we need to think of is we need to focus on strength, okay? And when we look at a program or how we can most effectively work on strength, we need to look at body weight, okay? Not necessarily go and lift weights more. Our first thing needs to be our gymnastics type skills, our push-ups, our air squats, our lunges, our handstands. If you have pull-up bars or a place where you can do pull-ups at your gym, moving your body through pull-up motions, but basically becoming stronger with your new added weight. Because not only are we trying to build strength with this weight, but we're also trying to reestablish or to establish better brain-body communication, right? Because it's almost like a newborn deer that's kind of stumbly-fumbly as it's trying to walk. It's trying to create a connection between its brain telling its body how to work efficiently. And so when we change the size of our body through a growth spurt, we can experience some of those similar things that we did kind of learning how to walk. So moving your body is a fantastic way to start to build your strength up. From there, we can start to add in weights. We can start to look at adding in, dumbbells, kettlebells, bands. Not that you can't do those things to start with, but your primary focus should be just moving your body better and becoming more comfortable with the physical change that you've had. And then once we have established some comfort there and some efficiency, then it makes more sense to add weights. Now, additionally, once we get through this, or not even when we get through, but you can kind of do this concurrently, is it may not hurt to take a step back and start going through some of the basics that we learned when we were first learning how to tumble, right? So not necessarily skipping the skills that are higher level, but during our warm-up, really spending some extra time going through those basics, like through our warm-up and through our prep. Additionally, taking a day or so and going back and working through your progressions up to certain points. So if you're, say you had a full and then you went through a growth spurt, full started becoming more challenging, you're not going to lose your full. You're going to get better at it if you just take a step back and work your way up to it. And you can do that over the course of a single practice, right? So it's like, instead of saying, darn, I can't do my round off handspring full comfortably. Okay, well, back it up. Let's go through some round off handsprings. Let's go through some round off handspring tucks. Let's make sure our layout is still solid and pretty. And then start working your way back into the fulls. I guarantee you haven't lost your full. It just feels harder because you've got extra weight and longer limbs to move around while you're upside down and spinning, right? So there's nothing wrong with taking a step back, working some of the earlier progressions, or spending more time in your warm-up hitting some of those progressions along the way that you worked on before you got to that higher level pass. One of the other things to focus on is when you are growing, sometimes certain body parts can't keep up with others. So we may get a lot of bone growth and that tightens down, muscles in our legs and things like that. So one of the things I see a lot in practice is when I have kids that go through growth spurts, they may get pain in the front of their knees, which is what I dealt with when I was a cheer athlete. So keeping your foam roller, if you don't know what a foam roller is, Google foam roller and get on our YouTube. We have in our Instagram, we have videos of how to foam roll, but foam rolling your quads and your thighs, right? Foam rolling your calves, foam rolling, these areas where you may have some tightness that, starts to form once you start growing and you get longer, can help to decrease some of the muscle soreness that you may have as you're growing. So that can help to keep you in activity so you're not sitting out due to discomfort. And the most important thing with all of this discussion, the most important thing is do not get frustrated. Do not get in your head. Don't go to that dark place where you start having anxiety, you start freaking out, thinking that you're not a good athlete anymore. You've lost things. That's where we get those terrible MBs, our mental blocks, right? So don't get frustrated. Recognize, like, if you're noticing, hey, I'm growing taller, or if you have coaches or parents are like, man, like, you're really getting tall, understand that there may be some changes that you hadn't even noticed yet, or you may start to notice some difficulties with certain skills, and that's okay. Because as you get stronger, as you get comfortable in this new body, so to say, you're going to get right back to where you were before, and you're going to progress better because it's signs of growth. You're physically growing. You're going to have muscles that are getting strong. You're getting, a more athletic build. So growth spurts are not bad. Don't let them frustrate you. Okay, on to our second question. Our second question was, what are some rehab suggestions if I'm having neck pain and upper back pain, or cervical and thoracic pain? So the cervical spine is the portion of our spine that's in our neck, right underneath our head. Below that, where our rib cage is, we have our thoracic spine, or our T-spine. So when we look at some considerations for neck and upper back, the first thing we need to discuss is make sure we don't have something serious going on. So if you're having a lot of issues with your neck and upper back, that's something that you need to see somebody about. So, there's always, we want to put out a warning of our suggestions aren't for everybody, but they're safe enough that if you're having some issues and you try some of these things, they potentially can help to decrease some discomfort. But if you're having high levels of pain that's consistent, it's not a bad idea to find a provider in your area that is well-versed in the musculoskeletal system, or the muscles and bones, to help guide you through what you should do. And if you have struggles to find somebody like that, reach out to us. We will find a provider in your area to get you taken care of, keep you on the mat. Or if you're a parent, keep your athlete on the mat. So the first thing I want to start with is foam rolling, lacrosse ball work, and peanut work, okay? Now, we introduced the peanut a few weeks ago on the Instagram page, and on our YouTube, we showed you how to make one. It's 2 lacrosse balls that are taped together with some athletic tape or some KT tape. You can also use baseballs if you want to make a bigger one. If you want to make a really big one, you can use softballs. You tape those together, and it gives you this infinity-shaped instrument. Now, this thing is very similar to a foam roller. It's just a smaller package. Now, our lacrosse ball, we can also use to do some work on ourselves, and foam rollers, what most people are familiar with, the long, dense foam tubes that you can roll your legs and your back and things like that on. The first thing I would warn with is there's only a couple of rules that I like to focus on when it comes to rolling. No bones. So if you hit a bone and you're kind of smashing on a bone with your lacrosse ball, your peanut, or your foam roller, get off of it. The whole point of using these things is to help loosen up tight or knotted areas. And I don't know about you, but I've never heard of a bone loosening up. So stay off your bones. Don't roll in the bones. The other thing is stay off your nerves. If you feel stinging, burning, tingling, numbness, anything like that, you're on a nerve, just like the old saying, don't get on my nerves. Don't get on your nerves. Stay off of those, okay? So what we do is we can use our peanut, our lacrosse ball, and our foam roller to roll through the neck and the upper back. Now, if we're going to use the lacrosse ball, we would want to use it basically on the back side of your neck. You can use it on your upper back, leaned against the wall. You can also lay on the floor and put your lacrosse ball underneath your upper back and go through some motions and movements with your arm and head. And you're looking for tight, tender areas, or what we call like muscle knots, where you feel like a discomfort in a muscle. And you'd want to pin that spot down and go through some ranges of motion with your head and neck. Now, additionally, we can use our peanut, which is our double lacrosse ball taped together, and we can put that right under the base of our skull. So as we lay on our back, we put that right behind our neck and put some light pressure into that and slowly roll it down your neck. And you may find some tender areas in the neck where you want to spend some extra time until you feel a decrease in that tenderness at that area. Now, additionally, we can use our foam roller. Foam roller, not really effective in the neck. It's going to be better for your upper back or your thoracic spine. And what you do is just put the foam roller behind you as you sit on the floor. You cross your arms over your chest. You sit down you lean back until your rib cage hits the foam roller. From here, keeping your core tight, so almost like you're doing like a crunch, we're going to keep our arms across our chest and lift your hips off the floor. And from there, we're just going to roll nice and slow up and down through our rib cage, kind of from the bottom of the rib cage to the top of the upper back. On this, you can also do some rotation where you lean kind of to one side, so you roll a little bit more to the left or a little bit more to the right. And you can also go through some side bending where you kind of flex from side to side. Now you may hear some clicking, you may hear some popping or some crunching. And all that is that's just like your knuckles popping, right? Those are just your ribs. As they attach to your spine, you're getting a little bit of some air that gets released from that joint, just like when you pop your knuckles. So nothing to worry about there. And then once you spend a couple of minutes on your roller, I would say anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes is probably a safe bet. And you are hunting and searching for some of these tight, tender areas. Once you get done, we can go through some range of motion activities. So for our upper back, we can do what's called our cat-cow or cat-camel or camel-cow. You can, I've heard it called 100 different things, but you start on all fours. As you breathe in, you look up towards the ceiling, you drop your chest, you're really kind of stretching out, opening through the front of the chest. As you exhale, you round your upper back, driving your upper back up like a cat going through a stretch, and you tuck your chin, really stretch out your thoracic spine. Going through some of these breathing activities, very, very beneficial for tightness and discomfort in the upper back. Once you've gone through a few breaths here, you can then lay on your side in kind of the fetal position with your arms directly out in front of you as if you're like a big alligator, if you're doing a big clap. So you'd be laying on your side, both arms extended directly out in front of you with your hands together. Now from here, you would keep your knees in the fetal position, keep your knees still, and you're just gonna open your top hand and rotate away from your bottom hand. Your bottom hand stays on the floor, top hand reaches way behind you, and try to tap that back hand on the floor. And then close back down. So these are called open books or alligators, where you're an alligator's mouth and you're opening and reaching, or you're closing back down. Or if you think an open book, imagine your arms are a really big book and you're opening the cover and then closing the cover back down. Then you would want to flip to the other side, do the same thing. That's going to get you some thoracic spine rotation. We're going to free up some of the motion in your upper back. Now, as far as the neck goes, I'm a much bigger fan, especially in the younger population, I'm a much bigger fan of strengthening the neck than necessarily stretching the neck. And the reason is because most of our kids have enough flexibility in their cervical spine. We don't need to build extra flexibility there. So my suggestion is to work on strengthening the muscles in the neck, because if you take a fall or if you get hit in a stunt, you're going to want a stronger neck, not a more flexible neck. So ways we can do that are, if we're individual, we can simply take our hand, put it against the side of our head, push with our hand, and resist with the head. You're not trying to overpower your hand with your neck. You're just creating tension with your hand, and you're resisting that movement by keeping your head still, and that contracts your neck muscles. You can hold that for 30 seconds from both sides, and then from your forehead, you can work on pushing forward, and back, you can push into the back of your head. Now, you can also add resistance bands, where you can take one of the TheraBands that we've used in some of our videos and put it around your head, and you can also pull with the band to give you some added resistance. Or if you have a partner, we can work together to strengthen the neck by having one partner stand, the other partner is on all fours, kind of crouched down, and as we used to do in our football class, which was actually a very rudimentary but very effective way to do it, is we would have our partner stand in front, we would put our ear against one side of their shin or their calf, and we would push into their calf, and we'd hold that again for 30 seconds. We'd then switch to the other side, put the other ear on the other calf, push the head sideways into their calf. Again, the active participant is down kind of on all fours, kind of kneeling down on the ground. And then we would have our partner reach down and kind of place their hand above and have the athlete push their head into the hands on the back of their head. So kind of lifting up against resistance as the partner's holding their hands down low, and then rotate. So we'd have left, right, and back strengthening to build up the muscles in the back of the neck. So using some things like this to help build strength in the neck can also help to decrease some of the discomfort in the neck, because a lot of times our neck pain can be caused by hypermobility in some joints, or lack of strength in the muscles supporting the joints in our neck, and so those joints end up getting irritated. And also, no matter what, if you're having discomfort, again, get it checked out if it's something that's consistent and something that's giving you a lot of trouble. And don't ever underestimate the power of an ice pack. Please, please, please. If you ever have discomfort, throw an ice pack on it first. You'd be amazed at how fast and easy it is for an ice pack to decrease your pain. I want to thank you guys so much for these questions. They're, again, great questions, and we're going to continue to answer your questions. If you have a question that you'd like answered on the podcast, reach out to us either through Instagram or through our email, thecheerdoc@gmail.com. Also, again, a reminder, trying to reach our goal of getting 5 more supporters. Again, as little as 99 cents a month. 99 cents, $3.99, and $9.99 a month. Again, this money is going to help us to build scholarships for cheer athletes that are headed off to college, to help give them some support and show our love and appreciation for all they do, and to send them off in a great way as they head off to get a higher education. So thank you guys again so much for joining me. Shoot me a message if you have any questions, and we will catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye. Hey guys, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with our newest and latest videos.